Hello everyone, Gammon here. Anthem isn't doing so well, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I already covered some of them in my Death of BioWare video, but the too long didn't watch is that BioWare is having a massive talent leak for the past 10 years or so, to the point that nearly all of the people that made the company's best games have quit. This trend continued, by the way, even after the video I published. The latest two to leave the company being Ben Irving, Anthem's lead producer, and Dragon Age's 4 previous lead producer, Fernando Mello. These departures must be such a spicy meatball. But BioWare's talent leak, or the company's slow, drawn-out demise, is not the subject of this video. Today I want to talk about Anthem, why it probably doesn't have a future, and what we can learn from it. Anthem had problems from the very beginning. This isn't rare. Most games of the shooter-looter variety usually come out with a large amount of glitches and bugs and are kinda half-baked, at least at launch. But unlike Anthem, most of them usually work very quickly to fix and balance the game post-launch. What sets Anthem apart other than the obvious lack of general improvement despite the game being out for over 6 months now, is how fundamental these bugs are. We aren't talking about bugs that originate from technical ineptitude, but deep flaws in the way the game was designed. And what these flaws show is that BioWare just has no idea how to make this type of game. This feeling of overall incompetence was reinforced by a blog post released recently by Chad Robertson, head of BioWare's live services. The blog post is what triggered this video, and I feel it shows just how murky BioWare's understanding of this genre is. This blog is completely devoid of any real content. It admits the game has core issues, but doesn't talk about what they are. It says it plans on fixing them, but it doesn't mention how they're gonna fix them, only that you're going to enjoy it.
Loyalty to the brand. Loyalty is salvation. Loyalty is life.
He then tops this corporate gibberish by proclaiming that Anthem will no longer have any big acts, which were a promised feature that probably convinced more than one person to buy the game. These acts will be replaced with, and I quote, events that will deliver challenges and chases similar to what you've seen. Whatever the fuck that means. Oh, and by the way, him promising similar things seems a bit odd considering how so far, from what I've seen, the Anthem community doesn't like most of the content that was offered. But hey, I guess it sounds nice if you don't think about it too deeply. So don't think about it too deeply. So what does this all mean? Well, it probably means Anthem is entering its sunset period. The game underperformed and probably isn't generating EA much money, so they transferred most of the Anthem team over to Dragon Age 4. This probably means they just don't have enough people on staff to keep doing big events, so they'll just give the game the minimum amount of support required to not really anger the people who bought the game when are still playing it. And instead of being honest and saying they just don't have the resources to do the promised content anymore, they're doing their utmost to frame this loss of promised features as a positive. Essentially, Anthem has been put in a retirement home, and it's not even 1 year old. Mice live longer. Anthem is what happens when you have people that have no idea what they're doing because it's the first time they ever worked on this type of project before, work without any proper direction and without the ability to look at outside resources for direction or inspiration. But what can we learn from Anthem? How can we not repeat the same mistakes that BioWare did in order to, well, create this clusterfuck? Have a clear vision, try to stick to what you know, and if you're trying something new, steal, and steal again. And remember, if you call your blatant copying inspiration, most people will give you a pass so long as what you're giving them is good enough. Before we continue to do the autopsy on Anthem and see what we can learn from its corpse, I want to read a short extract from Jason Schreier's article about it. Everybody saw that there was so much potential in those early prototypes. Potential was always the word there. So, whenever you start a creative project, and this can be any creative project, you can write a book or a script, you can compose a song, you can draw a picture, even something as dumb as starting a YouTube channel, you're going to feel it. The infinite potential radiating from the universe. You can make anything. Except you can't. Not really. You have to make something, and in order to do that, you have to slowly forget about all the things you could do and instead focus on the things that you can and will do. Getting hung up on potential is a giant trap. You have to focus instead on the very specific thing you're about to do and that you're planning to do. Oh, and if you started something and you feel like what you're doing is garbage, feel free to throw it away and start again. Try to have no attachment to your work whatsoever or its potential. The more attachment you have, the more time you're going to commit to a project that cannot work. By the way, not getting attached to your work, incredibly fucking hard. Probably impossible. You're gonna have some attachment, unless you're an actual veteran, but try to minimize your attachment at the very least. Anyway, from reading Jason's article, it's clear Anthem's developers were hung up on its potential. They never sat down and focused on what the game is. They merely fantasized about all the things the game could be. They couldn't reach any specific decision because, well, they were in a way starstruck by all the possible decisions they could take. They were blinded by potential. But this is a rookie mistake. BioWare is a very old studio, and despite of the talent leak, there's still a lot of old talent there. And the people who made these mistakes, they are the old talent. They're studio veterans. How is it that people with so much experience made a mistake that you'd expect someone who was just starting out his career would do? Well, the reason is, despite all of them being veterans, in a very real way, they're all rookies. None of them have ever worked on a game like Anthem before. Creative skills are a bitch. They disappear almost immediately if you stop using them, and they usually don't transfer very well. Someone who spent his entire life composing rock music probably won't be the best at composing classical music or jazz. Someone who spent his entire life drawing still life probably won't be the best drawing portraits. And someone who spent his entire life creating RPGs probably won't be the best when it comes to creating shooters with flying elements. Obviously, some basic skills will transfer, but a lot of the skills that you need to reach the high level won't. It's incredibly dangerous to step out of your comfort zone, that cozy little niche you made for yourself where you're actually competent. Because despite being a complete rookie, you'll have the confidence of a veteran. Worse, you'll have a lot of things you learned in your previous genre that just won't work when applied to the new one. It's why you want to stay in your comfort zone as much as possible and very, very slowly expand out of it. And if you want an example of a development team that does just that, look no further than FromSoft, who slowly iterate on what made Dark Souls so good. By creating small but consistent improvements on their old formula, they create vastly different games out of the mold of the original. Games like Bloodborne and Sekiro. This is why so many of Anthem's problems are deeply structural and revolve around game design. The team has no clear vision, and in many ways, the team is worse than complete rookies. They had the experience of a rookie, but all the confidence and the set ways of a veteran. A dangerous combination. This is disastrous because focusing on your strengths is doubly important for teams of absolute rookies, as you're going to have an incredibly hard time anyway, and you want to minimize the amount of hardships you're going to have to go through to complete your work. Gress is the first game by Nomada Studio. It's visually stunning and its art direction is superb. The reason an upstart team could make such a beautiful game, despite it being the first game they ever made, is because they had previous experience as artists. They know how to make beautiful art. They knew what their strength was, knew where they could excel, and they made that aspect, the visual design, the focus of their first game. That's clever, and that's what you should do. If you have a mold, try and stick to the mold and slowly iterate on it. If you have nothing, if you're complete rookies, think about the one thing you can do better than everyone else and focus on that. Laser precision. Grace is what having vision, smart leadership, and understanding your own limits gives you, as well as admittedly years and years of experience as an artist, but hey. Anyway, BioWare's complete lack of experience in this genre also explains why Anthem's post-launch was handled so badly. Nobody wanted to abandon this game. This news isn't happy news for anyone in BioWare or in EA. This is horrible PR for both of them and a giant monetary loss. But this is the best they can do with the team that they have. But having a clear vision and staying within your comfort zone, or if you don't have a comfort zone, at least focusing on your strengths, isn't the only thing we can learn from Anthem. Let me read a second extract from Jason's article. Because Anthem's leadership didn't want to discuss Destiny, they found it hard to learn from what Bungie's looter-shooter did so well. We need to be looking at games like Destiny because they're the market leaders. So, you have a team of essentially rookies trying to do something very hard, because all creative projects worth doing are incredibly hard. They have no real vision, and they're obsessed with potential. What do you do to turn this ship around? We steal, baby! Listen, there's a lot of stigma with copying existing works across all mediums, and a lot of people that never tried to create something are obsessed with the idea of originality and innovation. However, just about every work you've ever enjoyed has been made by a creator who was inspired and had his thoughts directed in one way or another by other creators that he looked up to. So, if you have no idea what you're doing and you have no idea how to move forward, look at other people that have already been to where you're trying to get and follow in their footsteps. There really is no shame in naked, blatant theft. Just make sure you change it up just enough that you're comfortable with calling it your own. Looking at other people's failures lets you avoid their mistakes. That's kind of what we're doing here. And looking at success lets you ground yourself and guide you and your own ideas from potential and into reality. It's actually hard to think of a game that didn't clearly take direction from previous entries in its genre. Nearly every modern JRPG that has a focus on relationships, like your Personas or your Fire Emblems, is taking inspiration from Sakura Wars. Nearly every Metroidvania, such as Hollow Knight, are taking notes from old classics like Symphony of the Night. Hell, even a game as old as Doom can still give you lessons that you can put into practice in modern first-person shooters. So please, by all means, steal, and steal away. You can call it inspiration, you can call it learning, I don't care what you call it. See good things and try to copy them. I don't care, your audience won't care. Just fucking steal. And from Jason's article, it's suddenly very clear that this option was actively rejected by BioWare's higher-ups. So not only were they chasing potential, they were chasing pure originality, which prevented them from learning from other people's mistakes or copying their successes. It's why, despite coming years after Destiny, it actually repeated a lot of the mistakes Destiny had at launch. And both of these are, again, rookie mistakes, but hey, that's kind of what the team was, a team of rookies. And well, that led us to today's sad state of affairs, with BioWare dying, Anthem entering its sunset period, and nobody is able to fix all of these problems because nobody has the skills, and now they probably also don't have the manpower. So, even if they were willing to swallow that bitter pill, accept everything they did wrong, and actually look at other games to learn what to do, it's far too late for that now. Anthem is probably not going to get better. It's going to slowly fade away, and, well, that's really sad. But hopefully, at the very least, it will serve as an example of what not to do. And on that sad note, I feel like it's time for this video to enter its sunset period. Thanks for watching.